One Oxford Valley, this is the podcast. I'm J.D. Mullane, columnist for the Bucks County Courier-Times.
And I'm Phil Gianficaro, columnist for the Intelligencer.
Can Andy Meehan defeat incumbent Bucks County Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick? He's a Republican on a mission. Andy wants to primary the moderate Fitzpatrick, who is now in his second term, and break the power that the Country Club GOP has on Bucks County and the 1st District. So, Andy, welcome to the podcast. Give us your 30-second elevator pitch on why Republicans should dump Fitz and vote for you.
Well, the party has strayed from its base and its roots and its values. Congressman Fitzpatrick is really not a Republican. He doesn't vote like one. He doesn't talk like one. He didn't support the president. And the Bucks County rank and file GOP voters are just sick and tired of being sold out, and we've lost the whole county. So at this point, what do we have to lose, JD? Let's elect a real Republican and stand up for what we say our values are and do what we say we're going to do, and let's get back to winning.
Okay, so that's your pitch. How do you figure there are enough Trump Republicans, Democrats, and moderate independent voters to put you over the top in the primary and in the general?
Well,
I'm sorry. I said primary. How do you figure if you win the primary? How do you figure there are enough of those people to get you over the top?
Absolutely. I think with Trump's popularity across the country being over 50%, as I've heard it recently being, not that I walk in lockstep with the president, but people happy with the president and his agenda are going to want a guy on the ticket that's going to be an ally to the president and help him implement that agenda, and that would be what I would go to Washington to do is to help the president instead of being an obstruction, which Congressman Fitzpatrick has been for the past 3 years. He's a self-described check on the Trump presidency, and the one shining little object that he's been able to tie to is that he didn't vote for the impeachment. But there's a higher bar to being a Republican than just not voting with every single Republican in the country to not impeach your president.
But you got to admit that was a big one. I mean, if Brian Fitzpatrick really disliked was not a Donald Trump, why wouldn't he have voted for impeachment?
Because that would have been political suicide, because you have Andy Meehan waiting in the wings who is a Trump supporter, and if he voted to impeach I think all hell would have been rained down on him from the Trump administration and above. Kevin McCarthy, I think they have a deal for him to toe the line with the impeachment, and he was coming to the district raising money for Fitzpatrick, and I think if Brian strayed off of that line, he really would have got whacked.
Andy, the Fitzpatrick name in the county is a powerful name. It's been a political power for years. When did you decide that you wanted to take him on? And again, this could be an uphill climb for you because of that name in this county. Absolutely.
I decided last May when I was sitting in my shed smoking a cigar and having a cold beer, and I was watching what was going on social media. Congressman Fitzpatrick had just voted for the Equality Act, which would have spelled the doom of women's sports. I was bemoaning this fact on Facebook, saying, who is going to primary this guy? He is not acting like a Republican. He's not standing up for what we believe in. And I heard crickets from the audience. And one lone voice stood up in the audience, and that was Jimmy Clendenin. And Jimmy's running for delegate now, and he'll be on the ballot as well in position number 1. And Jimmy said, well, gee, Andy, you've got a strong opinion, lots of energy, and why don't you primary him? And I'd never run for office before. I'm a financial advisor, and that kind of hit me over the head saying, well, geez, I don't think Bucks County politics or me or my wife are ready for that yet, but it planted a seed in my head, and I started thinking about it, and I did the old Ben Franklin, add up the things that could go right on the left and put all the things on the right side that could go wrong, and the things on the left were a lot of really good things that could happen, and a very long list. Things on the right were very short, like I could lose my business and my marriage and all those things, but regret.
Well, those are pretty big things to lose. Yeah. I mean, you're willing to gamble that?
Regret is a terrible thing, JD. I don't want to look back 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and say, Andy, you had the energy and you had the talent and the voice, and you didn't use it. Shame on you. Yeah. So I decided to stick my neck out, and that's what I'm doing.
There are situations where we bring you in and we talk to you, and we're going to have Fitz in and we're going to talk to him, but it would sure be interesting for you guys to be on stage together talking at or with each other.
We know that's not going to happen.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Fitz is not. He's refused to debate you.
Yes.
his spokesperson, Kate Constantini, said, and I quote, "Consistent with both the Bucks and Montgomery County GOP committee's conclusion, we will not give a platform to anyone who uses hateful language dividing our community." How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I'd like to see what is that hateful language that they've concocted into creating a monster out of me such that I shouldn't even have my voice heard in public. This is what they've attempted on me, a political assassination. It started back in January when Fitzpatrick released an attack ad on me for about a DUI that I had 13 years ago that was public knowledge. And then I went to that screening meeting. I call it an ambush meeting in Doylestown, where I was in that room alone with Pat Poprick and her 2 lieutenants. And out of that meeting comes a series of untruths and falsehoods, and they spun a yarn to the committee about what I said and what went on in that meeting to demonize me and impugn my character, to the point where they were able to convince Liz Havey in the Montgomery County Committee to bar me from screening, even though she never even picked up the phone to talk to me about it. So it was a political hit job in Pat Poprick's classic style. And but I soldier on, fellas, and they're not going to silence me. I'm not going to be put down.
But you had a counter ambush to the ambush, which was that you were secretly recording them on your phone.
This is not true.
Like, your phone is, like they said, he put his, like, one of the sharp-eyed young Republicans spotted you, like, hitting the record button and putting your phone upside down. And so I'm sitting here next to Andy, and he has his phone upside down right next to me. You're not recording us now, are you? Can we see? Can we just check?
They've accused me of this and making other secret recordings, but there is zero evidence of this. It is a falsehood. It is a fabrication.
Okay, so you're saying...
Are you going to answer JD's question?
Yeah. Are you recording us right now?
You know, Phil, I turned my phone off when we came in.
All right, Andy.
So.
Thank you.
We're just checking.
When a guy puts his phone upside down, you always got to wonder, whether you or anybody, nobody. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of a bizarre thing to hear, from Pat Poprick on Dom Giordano's show.
Yep.
That she called in to say that that's what happened, and there was a few other things, but but you weren't recording them, were you?
No, I was not secretly recording anything, JD. This is a distraction.
Openly recording?
This is a distraction.
Were you openly recording?
This is a distraction from the issues at hand, which is that they don't want me to speak, and they're concocting reasons.
We've been around a long time, but you're new to politics, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
You're a financial advisor in real life.
That's right.
But these are the kinds of things that a rookie in politics gets caught up in, and it becomes the headline. So, you got to stay on message. Now, staying on message, because I know anybody listening to this is going to want to know where you stand. What's the biggest issue separating you from Brian Fitzpatrick? I know there's an array of them. You can go to Andy's website and see it. But what's the biggest one? What's the one that ticks you off most? Is it the pro-life thing? He gets, I forget, he's 33% for pro-choice on his votes or something. I believe it's a third of his votes are pro-choice. There's the Title IX thing. There's a lot of stuff. But what's the one that really ticks you off?
There's a mountain of it, JD. The one that really ticked me off was this Equality Act. This is the one. Is this the one that allows men who identify as women to compete in women's sports? Yeah, and win their athletic scholarships and share their locker rooms and bathrooms and their shelters, and to make it, that one even went so far as removing religious objections for doctors on surgeries, as I recall as well.
Yeah.
I know that you were on Dom's show last May talking about it, and I agreed with you 100% that this is a far left radical position. And why is a Republican getting involved in this social engineering?
And I'll tell you why. Because as somebody who has doctors in his family, I mean, when you go into a doctor's office, the first thing they ask you, you're male or female, because the treatments for various, even sometimes the same ailment are different for male and female. So it just seems like a bending of reality that is beyond the pale for most people. But you're saying Brian favors that. He's fine.
He sponsored that act, and I have come out publicly as the first act that I will do as Congressman JD and Phil is that I will sponsor the Fair Play for Women Act. The Fair Play for Women Act will make it illegal for Title IX athletic scholarships that were meant for women to be given to biological men. that they, if you're talking about public schools, publicly funded schools, primary or secondary schools, that it would prohibit them from allowing biological males to compete with girls on the sporting fields.
Right.
And it would also, for organizations that get federal funds, nonprofits, it would make it so that they would not have to require, the government would not require any of these organizations to admit biological males into women's shelters, safe spaces, things like that. So I think protecting the women's safe space, fair play for women, that's a big issue. I've been up and down the county, telling people about this, and I'd say 97% of the people you talk to shake their head and say, "Of course, Andy, that's right."
Right.
And that unites Democrats and independents and Republicans alike, J.D. and Phil.
Yeah.
That's,
Running for political office costs money. As of December 31st, the figures from the Federal Elections Commission has you at about $6,500. Fitzpatrick with $1.4 million.
Yeah, where did all that money come from?
Where did it come from?
Less than 2% of it came from people in the district under $200. Let's put it that way.
Earlier,
That's
I asked you about the uphill climb.
Yeah.
This is another steep hill on this climb. Could you talk about the challenge of having to fight that financial
Absolutely. This is another area where the
Speed
Congress
bump.
and I are completely different. I am somebody who manages money for people and has never been comfortable asking people for money. That's what I do for a living. But I have, raised, I think, $35,000 or $40,000 so far. We need to raise a lot more. You can donate to my campaign by going to mehan2020.com. We have a couple fundraisers coming up that'll help us do that. But I don't think I need nearly as much money as people think I do to beat Congressman Fitzpatrick. It would be nice if I got more press time, which I think has been denied to me. If my voice wasn't trying to be silenced by the congressman and the party with regards to not even having me debate them. This is their strategy to deprive me of a forum, to deprive the voters of Bucks County information that they can act on intelligently to pick their congressman instead of leaving that up to the party.
Yeah, and for the people listening, that's common. I mean, the incumbent never wants to debate the primary opponent, because the primary opponent might steal some votes from him in a tight race, which this will be.
He debated Dean Malik the last time around and Mark Duomi the time before.
Okay.
What's different about this time?
What is different about this time? When we have him in, we'll ask him. Listen, Harry Falk's Big Red Machine still runs the party. The Fitzpatricks come from that big red machine. In the machine, you have powerful men with a lot of money supporting Fitzpatrick. I mean, how do you overcome that? How do you overcome that organization, the country club organization, the Pat Poprick organization, that really is, in Bucks County, a spent force, given that Democrats now run in the county?
Well, I think what you have to look at is what are the results, J.D., and the results are that we lost the entire county on November 5th. We have terrible leadership. They were out there pointing their finger at Bob Harvey, blaming him for the dump we can see here from the 5th floor of One Oxford Valley, and that all lands squarely in the seats of the Republicans.
You're right. That was an inept campaign. The Republicans have a great record in Bucks County with open space. They didn't run on it.
Bond ratings, open space, low taxes.
Low taxes, great, and the run, and it was the injection sites, and that may come to Bucks County, but it wasn't. That issue wasn't right.
Yeah, so they tried to paint this on Bob Harvey, and it flopped.
It
and
did.
they're doing what they're doing with me is going to flop as well. 105,000 Republicans stayed home on November 5th. So if you've got a baseball franchise, right, and your team really stinks up the joint, do you blame the fans when they don't show up to buy popcorn and come to the game?
Yeah.
No, you blame that. If you're a football coach and your team goes 0-18, you lose 6 municipalities, 8 row offices, all the other things they've lost. Do you remain the coach of that team?
And you know what? You know what the spread was between Republicans and Democrats in the county commissioners race? 700.
Yeah, 600, 700 votes, and 105,000 stayed home.
700. Harry Falks is spinning in his grave because he always said it's about door knocking. You knock on enough doors, you get the votes. They should have knocked on another 10,000 doors. They would have been, several thousand over.
Andy, I
want to
get back to the issue of that campaign fund. We had mentioned that Fitz has $1.4 million in his coffers, and you said, well, where did that money come from? What did you mean by that?
Well, if you look at the FEC reports for Congressman Fitzpatrick, it's chock-a-block full of donations from super PACs and special interest groups from out of the district in California and New York. He's received money from Les Parnas, a whole variety of seedy underground type of things. The American Unity Fund was this transgender activist group that gave him a website a few weeks back and was asking people to go to the website and thank Congressman Fitzpatrick. So these are the kind of things that are funding Congressman Fitzpatrick. Regular rank and file people that are blue collar folks in the county that write checks to me do not send money to the congressman, and this is his money is dirty money.
Well, Andy, we've already discussed how you're a financial advisor, but you also play in a band, and you play harmonica. And Andy has agreed to do our outro music today. Right before we started recording, he was playing some blues here, which sounded pretty good, Phil. Right?
Hey, listen. Anybody wants to play music for us for free? I think.
Right.
I think Fitz is going to come and play the sax, though. So
yeah, he might upstage you. Maybe we can have them both in.
I'll be nice.
Would be
I
great.
won't say anything about that.
Would you come back if we can get Fitz to sit here with us?
Anytime, any day, anywhere. I don't think he wants that because I know his record, and he doesn't want me talking about it.
All right. So, with a little blues, that's all for now. Find all our podcasts at Apple and Spotify or wherever fine podcasts are posted. You can read our columns and our great local content at CourierTimes.com, BurlingtonCountyTimes.com, and the Intel.com. Phil grooving over there to the Andy Blues. 2 L's in Intel. I'm J.D. Mullane.
I'm Phil Gianficaro.
For all of us here in the newsroom, thanks for listening. Thanks for reading.
Hi, this is Andy Meehan, and in case you haven't heard, I am doing something extremely difficult, but absolutely necessary. I'm a conservative challenging Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick in the Republican primary. On the issues, the congressman and I are worlds apart. Fitzpatrick voted in favor of amnesty for illegal aliens and against securing the border, while I'll oppose any amnesty and make sure the wall is funded. He supports gun bans and unconstitutional red flag laws, while I stand with our gun owners, our Second Amendment rights, and our right to due process. He voted to give a legal right to biological men to access women-only spaces and to compete against them for college athletic scholarships. I believe that women deserve women-only safe spaces in our society and fair competition in sports. He's voted for carbon taxes and the Paris Climate Accords, while I've put in writing my pledge of no new taxes. And Fitzpatrick has consistently supported endless wars in the Middle East. I'll vote to bring our troops home. Some establishment leaders in the Republican Party believe that you are obligated to endorse Congressman Fitzpatrick out of party loyalty. However, he isn't worthy of that loyalty as he has not demonstrated it himself. He voted against President Trump in 2016. He has not committed to supporting the president in 2020, and he voted with Nancy Pelosi to label the president a racist just this past July. He does not stand up for the president or our Republican values. I, on the other hand, as the nominee, will do both. But I need your help. Please go to meehan2020.com/contribute to help me raise the money to win this race. And please also hit the share button to share it with your friends and family so they can see how important this is and they can support me too. This is Andy Meehan, and I approve this message.